Discussing the therapeutic justice model. In Bexar County, we're a community mental health authority, and we have gotten together with some great partners with the probation department in Bexar County and the courts, the misdemeanor and felony courts, and other community partners to form a real tight collaboration in order to come up with this therapeutic justice model. It's different from maybe what you might know of the therapeutic communities. This is a little different because we're in the community working with many partners. We're going to take a two-focus approach today. Gilbert Gonzales, I'm going to introduce you to him in just a minute. He's going to explain systems, and I'll be talking about treatment. Mr. Gonzales is a Director of Communications and Diversion Initiatives. He's got a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's degree in public services, master's degree in clinical psychology. He's also a licensed professional counselor and a licensed chemical dependency counselor. He's been working in the field of substance abuse, mental health, and has formulated jail diversion programs for our community mental health. He's a public speaker at a federal, state, and local level, and he has written many articles on the subject of jail diversion. So I'd like to present to you my co-host here today, Gilbert Gonzales.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, we're going to get this thing going. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my mother and father for making it possible. And also, we know you had a choice of conferences today, so we'd like to thank you for being here. So please put your seats in the full upright position. Thank you for running Bexar County Jail Diversion Programs. We're going to do a couple of things today, but first I got to tell you, we're going to make it quick, we're going to make it impactful, and we're going to give you all the data you can carry out. Now, you know everything happens for a reason, so we're bringing all these handouts, and we're bringing all these, advertising and all this stuff, and you can see all the handouts in the chairs. Nothing. So UPS says, well, we know we told you we'd get it there by 8 o'clock, but we're running into some problems, so the long and the short of it, you have no handouts, you will get the handouts. However, Plan B, we're going to give you a website that, as a bonus for being here today, you'll be able to get every bit of data that you can imagine. We believe very strongly in taking data back so that you can talk to your commissioners, you can talk to your city council, and you can talk to your civic leaders and show them the benefits. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk very briefly about the overall system of approach here in Bexar County and San Antonio. We're about 100 miles just south of here. We're 1.6 million in population. We have a predominant population of Latino, mostly Mexican American, of about 60%. So you can imagine we have a fairly large bit of business. The therapeutic model. This was a definition that was come up with by our executive director, Leon Evans. In a gist, I'm not going to read it to you, but in a gist it says that therapeutic justice is based on the ability to bring together all the services needed in order to effect efficient and effective services in a least restrictive setting for persons with mental illness and drug abuse, and you can add that come in contact with law enforcement. Okay, so how have we done that? Well, I'm going to speed dial about 9 years, starting in 2000 all the way up, and sort of give you an overview. And I'm going to turn over to Linda the times when I'd like for her to kind of mention the piece of the message that we want to give to you that you already know. Twofold. One is a concentrated, coordinated model works. And the second message is treatment works. Okay? So before I start off, does anybody have any burning questions? And I'll warn you, if anybody starts sleeping, I'm going to start telling jokes. You don't want to hear my jokes. Trust me. Okay, here we go. So, Bear County story. In 2000, I was in jail. I was in jail for about 8 or 9 years, and they let me out. Actually, as a psychologist doing jail work in the forensic unit of the 3rd floor of the Harris County Jail in Harris County, Texas. Some of you may know that. Work for the sheriff's office there. And we're doing some great work there, but I got an opportunity to come down here. When we came down here, our executive director says, I want you to do 2 things. One, I want you to make sure that folks are no longer inappropriately incarcerated. Secondly, I want you to make sure that folks are not inappropriately using the emergency rooms. And all of those folks that are just as involved, they're the ones that need more help, because you are the ones that have the biggest pieces in your plate. Because you've got to make connections. So we're going to talk about collaboration, we're going to talk about integration, we're going to talk about restoration, and we're going to talk about transformation. So sometimes it just kind of feels this way, doesn't it? You got to go one way, but they're telling you can't go that way unless you go the other way. And so it gets a little confusing. So one of the things that we did early on in 2002, and actually you will not be tested on this material, so do not worry about the fact that you can't read it. I wanted you to have this. When you go to the website that we'll mention, you will see that, and you'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to go over it. But basically what we did is we worked off the Consensus Project. Some of you may or may not be familiar, but the Consensus Project said this: look, people with mental illness, people with drug abuse issues are going to come in contact with law enforcement. 69% of the folks that come in contact with law enforcement are going to be suffering from mental illness and substance abuse disorder. As a matter of fact, Travis County was just doing a presentation. I don't know if anybody is here from that excellent presentation that they did just before us, that they said, I think they had the recidivism rate, that their rate of mental illness and substance abuse was 69%, which is incredibly accurate, because that's exactly what ours is. So basically this document says you start at the beginning, from the time law enforcement gets involved all the way to when the court system gets involved, all the way to when they get discharged from jail, all the way to where the judge says, we're going to put you on paper, you're going to be on probation. You get to meet the probation officer. The probation officer gets to work with a mental health worker, which is in the same room. They're signed up and they're ready to go right then and there. So for those of you that wanted a systematic way to look at how to approach that, you'll see that there. Okay, how many of you have seen this? All right, collaboration is an unnatural act between 2 or more unconsenting adults. Let me tell you, we all work off of models. And our model has been a model where, you know, how much money do you have, and this is your budget, this is how many probation officers you have, and this is what your caseload is, and this is what by the way, the mental health system, they're not going to help you anyway, so why worry about it? So our model is very restrictive, it's very siloed. Yet, you have another model brewing up, and that's the model. How many of you in here are tweeters? Okay.
Boycotting it.
You're boycotting tweeting? Okay. How many of you are on Facebook? Facebook. And so you have Facebook, tweeting, LinkedIn. That's known as the social media model. The social media model says that the way, in the old days, if you were rich and you owned a radio station, you could get to a lot of people. Well, now, you just got to have a Facebook account or a Twitter account, and now you can get to many people. So it's one to many, many to many, and it's not restrictive. So from a collaborative perspective, whenever you can't get somewhere, you always know somebody that can. So the collaboration was something that we began very early on in 2000 and moved up to where at this point we have an operating budget for our jail diversion programs of about $11 million. That sounds like a lot, but it's not really when you're talking about the kind of population. Who do we work with? If you look at the list, what we call the big 34 around there. Actually, there's about 74 or 78 agencies that we work with. But the major core folks, your judges, your probation department, your parole, law enforcement, that's your police and your sheriff, your university, your hospital systems in whatever district you are at, and I will talk about why that is in a little bit, and many, many other agencies that are directly involved. Now, how does that affect treatment? Linda, you want to tell us?
Yes.